Alright, well if you saw yesterday's vlog, I got a haircut. And it's almost a little bit too short, but I think within a couple of days it should be to a good length. Okay, you may not be able to hear that, but I hear these really strong wave breaking sounds in the background. There's supposed to be a pretty good swell in town, like for the next couple of days. I'm not really sure, there's never like an exact, but we're gonna go to the beach and see what the waves look like. I think there's gonna be some size, because I can actually like hear like, but let's go check it out.
That does not look that big.
Alright, I don't know what this myth about some swell is, but the waves are not very large. As you could see by that clip, the waves, they're actually like smaller than they normally are. So we'll probably just go out for a surf session. There's a decent wave. Okay, we're gonna go grab our boards and go for a surf, but sadly, very annoying, my GoPro mount is still broken. I can't film it. So annoying, but well, the surf session was pretty fun. Sadly, I wasn't able to show it to you guys. I really got to get that GoPro mount fixed. But it was decent, but the waves were actually smaller than they were supposed to be. Everyone was like, there's this big swell coming and but there wasn't really that much of a swell. It was kind of just like an average day. Okay, so if you're a surfer, and maybe even if you're not a surfer, you may know what a swell is. But if you don't know what a swell is, I'm going to explain it to you guys briefly. Well, waves start out in the middle of the ocean. Not necessarily the middle of the ocean, but just, you get the idea, like out in the ocean. And out in the ocean, there's winds, there's storms, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And what the wind does, it's basically waves and swells are all created from wind, which is out in the ocean. So the wind pushes water towards the shore, and as the water goes towards the shore, since out in the ocean, it's pretty deep most of the time, the energy of a wave is all spread out. And as it gets closer to the shore, all that energy gets put like into a smaller area since there's less water, and then that's how it creates a breaking wave. But then if it was that simple, all the waves that were always there would always be the exact same size. Well, the reason the waves are sometimes different and the reason sometimes there's swells is, well, if there's more wind out in the ocean, then obviously there's going to be more water moving, which essentially creates bigger waves. And the reason that there's different swells and that waves sometimes get smaller and sometimes waves get bigger, well, it's because obviously out in the ocean, it's not just like this even ground going some shallower the closer you get to the shore. Out in the ocean, there are spots where there's like rocks, like reefs that come up closer to the top of the water. And what happens is that if the currents, if they have to go over those shallow areas, the currents, they lose strength. And that's the reason that when swells come from different directions, maybe like a north swell or like a south swell, like it depends from which direction it comes and depends what it has to go through, depending on if there's like reefs out in the ocean, which the swell has to pass through, depending on if there's rocks or if there's like islands or just whatever there is. Whatever it is that the swell has to pass through, that's what'll cause whether the waves are going to be bigger or if they're going to be smaller, depending on how much strength gets to the shore. So this is me trying to explain, doing my best to explain it. That was kind of just like a briefly description, but obviously if you look it up, you can learn a lot more in detail and a lot more of like the exact little details. But basically, swells and waves are created from wind out in the ocean. That's basically the simple version of all of this. All right, well, enough talking about how waves are created and how swells are created and all that stuff. Just a wave. What I'm gonna go do is I'm gonna go down to the beach again. It's closer to the evening. Yeah, it's almost, in a couple of hours it should be getting dark. And I'm gonna see how the waves look, because swells do show up late sometimes. So if you heard that the swell was supposed to get here like, let's say on Saturday, and you go to the beach on Saturday and there's no swell or anything, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not gonna show up. It could just be a day late. You know, sometimes they run into stuff. So that's what I'm gonna go do. See if the swell maybe did make it. Tyla! Hey guys, see this dog right here? Her name's Tyla, and you know what's funny is she is actually the mom of one of my dogs, as well as the aunt of one of our other dogs. Hey little guy, what are you doing? So funny. What are you doing? What are you doing? See you later. No, your home's that way. Go. There are so many dogs everywhere. There's like dogs everywhere. You can't go more than a couple of steps without seeing a dog, or without a dog walking by you, or chasing you, or barking at you, or just something. This is really weird. I just saw a dog go that way, which looked just like that dog. There's no way that's not the same dog. No, that dog looks a little different. Okay, there's this wooden structure right over there, like 100 feet that way. I'm gonna show it to you guys in a second. I showed it to you guys maybe not sure how many videos ago, but I showed it in one of my videos, and I wasn't really sure what it is. It's just like this 4 or 5 story tall, completely wooden, like skyscraper sort of weird structure, and I'm still wondering what it is. I'm not sure if it's gonna be like a restaurant or like, I can't see that being a house. I'm not sure what it's gonna be. There. See that thing? It's like 4 or 5 stories tall, and I'm not sure if they have ocean view from there, but right now that thing looks ugly. It might end up looking kind of cool. It might not. I'm not really sure. But in my opinion, if I was gonna build a structure that tall, I probably would build it out of a different material than wood, because wood will rot. It could get eaten by termites. It is a lot more flammable than like concrete or something. All right, so there are these rocks right next to where the waves seem to be the best right now. Right now it's like pretty low tide, so I'm gonna go walk out onto the rocks and maybe try to get some closer up shots of the waves. Looks like there's some decent size. There's no one out. And the swell looks like it might, I think the swell sort of kind of made it. Made it to basically the end of the rocks, and as soon as I got here, the waves went flat. Like, they literally just went flat. But I'm gonna put the camera recording and show you guys some of the waves. Climbed into this like cave in the rocks, and I'm kind of stuck. Not sure how I'm gonna get out. Whoa! Okay, let's get out of here. Pretty sure that's a jellyfish. What the heck? Okay, that's a weird jellyfish. All right, guys, that is the moon. That is the sun. Well, really zoomed in. Really zoomed in. Zooming out. This camera does zoom out very slowly, so I usually don't show the zoom out part, but this time I did. You can see the sun and the moon at the same exact time. I don't really see why it is that you always see the moon and the sun like all the time at the same time. It doesn't make sense. This planet is full of things that don't make much sense. I'm not even gonna get into things that don't make sense, because it just goes on forever. Anyways, let's go do a quote. Look at these cool vines. Could totally be like Tarzan. All right, well, that's a wrap for today. Quote, positive quote. This quote is, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. So what this quote means to me is that sometimes when you're trying to achieve something, or you're trying to accomplish something, a lot of the times stuff doesn't go your way in the process of getting there. Stuff doesn't go your way, things don't go as planned, but what this quote also means is that a lot of the times, once you make it, all the hard things that you had to go through will be totally worth it. And you'll be like, man, that was totally worth it, going through all that thing that I had to figure out how to get through, because now, once I've made it, man, it's just so totally worth it. So guys, thanks for coming along with me today. See you guys tomorrow in the morning. Hopefully the swell will stay here until I get my mouth mount fixed. I wish I really could have showed you guys the session this morning. But anyways, remember, stay awesome. See you guys tomorrow.